And stations is now 1 minute before the start of hour number 1 of The Line of Fire with Dr. Michael Brown. 1 minute from Mark. 1 minute.
We go from the pandemic and the shutdown to...
And stations now the final time check before the start of hour number 1 of The Line of Fire with Dr. Michael Brown. 30 seconds until hour number 1 from Mark. That was our final verbal time check for The Line of Fire with Dr. Michael Brown. We'll have a long tone at 10 seconds before, followed by a short one at 5 seconds. Have a great afternoon, everybody.
We go from the pandemic and the shutdown to the riots to the looting. What's God doing in the midst of this?
It's time for The Line of Fire with your host, activist, author, international speaker, and theologian, Dr. Michael Brown, your voice of moral, cultural, and spiritual revolution. Michael Brown is the director of the Coalition of Conscience and president of Fire School of Ministry. Get into The Line of Fire now by calling 866-34-TRUTH. That's 866-34-TRUTH. Here again is Dr. Michael Brown.
Welcome to The Line of Fire. It is June 1st. I'm kind of shocked that we're in the 6th month of 2020 already. For some, it may feel like time stood still with the shutdown and all of that. But for me, boy, it's unbelievable that we're here already. And it's even more unbelievable that America is being shaken in ways from different angles, one after another, in ways that we've never seen all together in our history. This is a major time. It's a major time for the church to rise and shine in the midst of the chaos, in the midst of the crisis. Michael Brown, delighted to be with you, serving by God's grace as your voice of moral sanity and spiritual clarity, as we always say. The society in chaos in a church all too often in compromise. Here's the number to call, 866-34-TRUTH. That's 866-348-7884 when you weigh in with your comments or questions. We're going to be talking about what's happening in America today. We're going to be coming at it from a number of different angles. And I just want to make an appeal to you. I'm not here to please anyone except the Lord. I'm here to serve you and please the Lord. I'm not here to impress anyone. Wow, I am compassionate. Oh, I have a heart for justice. Oh, I am the balanced one. I'm doing my best as a servant of the Lord to be honest, truthful, and to speak with a hearing ear, listening, learning, open heart to God and to people, and then to speak truth. All right, so I'm not trying to win the battle of who's most woke or whatever. I want to speak the truth as clearly as I can. And please listen to everything I have to say before coming to conclusions. Is that fair? Fair enough? All right. There's an article on National Review which says what many of us are thinking and feeling, namely this, that we understand the anger, we understand frustration. When I say we, I mean Americans across the board see the outrage over the killing of George Floyd, see the cumulative pain that's been rising for decades in the African American community. Many get it on a certain level that didn't get it before. At the same time, violent looting, rioting is always, without exception, unjustified, wrong. And this is simply lawlessness. When you are burning down buildings, that is lawlessness. When you are assaulting people, that is lawlessness. When you are smashing windows, breaking into stores, and stealing things, that is lawlessness. There is no justification. There is nothing godly about this. There's nothing good about this. Peaceful protest, yes. And there are times in armed struggle where you fight against your oppressors. There are times for things like an American Revolution against British oppression. And there are times when you're being invaded by a foreign army when you fight back. It's another thing when major government leaders say, we are standing with you and we want to see justice. And other leaders are saying, we recognize systemic issues that must be addressed. And then there are peaceful protests sending out a positive message and sharing pain and sharing concern and getting a message out to the nation. When all of that is taking place, there is no place for the violence. There is no place for the looting. There is no place for the rioting. There is no place for the vandalizing. There is no place for any of this. Zero. So, bottom line, when you look at some of the footage, when you look at buildings ablaze, fire departments, police buildings ablaze, and remember, the vast majority of the time, the people involved there are serving you. Since when is the fire department oppressing you? Since when is the fire department hurting you? Since when is the fire department killing you? You've got people risking their lives, many of them volunteer to save your life, to save my life. Why burn down their building? Or police. I was reading an article on Town Hall about an ESPN commentator, and he had tweeted out as he saw one building on fire in one city protest, burn it down, burn the S down, burn it all down. And then a couple days later, some of the violent crowd made its way over to his neighborhood. He said, hey, we're a peaceful community. We're a gated community. You animals, get out of here. Oh, what happened? One day it's burn it down because that wasn't his community. That wasn't his small business. That wasn't where his family made their livelihood. That wasn't where his local police served. Now he's cheering the police for the police clearing the animals out. How things change. How the tide does turn. So, friends, let's step back and let's recognize that there are major things going on that need to be resisted, that are destructive. And we do not want to play into them or give any place to them under any circumstances. At the same time, we want to refocus where we need to and take in what's actually happening and say, what can we do together as a nation to address corporate pain, corporate injustice? Let's be willing to ask the big questions. Now, over the last few days, I have posted 3 different major articles dealing with race issues here in America. One of them is up only on the stream. All the others are up on all of our other outlets, as well as, of course, on our website, AskDrBrown.org. But the first article I wrote said that white fragility has no place among those who are seeking justice. There's a best-selling book by Robin DiAngelo called White Fragility, and it addresses why whites are allegedly so fragile when it comes to talking about race. I'm not race. I'm not. It's like, well, why can't we talk about it? So the whole point of my article was not to agree with the thesis of her book, which I've not yet studied. I'm familiar with some of it, but I haven't studied it. It's not to buy into things like critical race theory or intersectionality. It is certainly not to support a victim mentality, but it's to say this. If you really have a heart for justice, if you genuinely have a heart for justice, if you genuinely want to see equality for all Americans, what's there to be fragile about? All right, what? Here, if I'm a baseball player and I want to be the best baseball player possible, and I want to be the best player for my team, and the coach says, hey, I've been watching your swing, and here's how we can fix it. It's like, okay, great. Let's fix it. Let's find out what the issues are. So let me read this to you, because I put 6 questions in the article. It was entitled, "For Those Who Love Justice, White Fragility Can't Be an Issue." So here are the questions that I asked. Number one, do you want true equality for every American? Do you want true equality for every American? I would hope every one of you would say, yeah, absolutely, regardless of skin color, ethnicity, whatever. I hope we'd all say that. Number two, is justice a value that you affirm? I think that's a positive value, a good value, in and of itself, justice. Number three, do you believe that ultimately there is one race, the human race, right? It's number three. Number four, do you reject the idea that people of color are inherently inferior? I hope everyone say, yeah, we reject that idea. Number five, do you reject any form of apartheid or segregation? I would hope there too the answer is, yeah, of course, absolutely. And then number six, if you consider yourself a follower of Jesus, do you agree that the spirit of racism is contrary to the spirit of the gospel? And I would hope every one of you that's a follower of Jesus would say yes. So here's the deal then. Why be fragile? If racism in any way is enshrined in our history, in our laws, and let's fix it. If that's the case. And if not, no problem. If racism has a history in America, say, was enshrined in our earliest history on any level, I wasn't there when it happened. I didn't participate in that. My mother came over from England, basically as an orphan. My father's parents came over from Russia, basically fleeing from anti-Semitism in Russia, starting a new life here in America. So they came as immigrants and had to work their way up in the culture and all that. So if there are things in our past that are bad, we'll fix them. And let's celebrate the good. We're not a perfect country. What country's perfect? Here, the children of Israel, handpicked by God through Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and given his laws directly, and with holy prophets in their midst, they messed up all the time. Why do we think America is going to be perfect? So if there's wonderful stuff in our history, great stuff, beautiful stuff, and bad stuff. And if any of it still goes on, so we fix it. And then we take everything on a case-by-case basis. For example, many of us could not buy into the hands up, don't shoot narrative with my namesake, Michael Brown in Ferguson. And even the Department of Justice under Eric Holder, they did an extensive investigation of the Ferguson Police Department and came out with a scathing report of inequality, a scathing report about Ferguson. But they said there's no evidence that would indict Darren Wilson, the officer who shot Michael Brown, that everything they could find, and everyone else that looked into it in official investigations found that he acted when he felt was legitimate self-defense. So you take everything on a case-by-case basis and evaluate it. But the point is, let's be humble. If there's a problem, let's fix it. If I'm part of the problem, show me, because I don't want to be part of the problem. If you're a part of the problem, I'll show you. And let's help each other, because don't we want the same goals overall? So let's be secure in the Lord, secure in our relationship with one another, and then put issues on the table where they're valid. We address them and not, we move on. I don't walk around feeling guilt. I said, I don't feel guilt that I'm white. No, I thank the Lord that I'm his child. And as his child, I want to do good. I want to do right. Don't you? Doesn't that reflect your heart? All right, we'll be right back.
Shake the